观众朋友们，下午好！10月25号的下午5点22分，欢迎您准时回到我们正在直播的《活在5点》。到了今天的嘉宾访问环节，今天为大家请到的嘉宾呢是刚刚再次当选省议员的维罗德选区的省议员 David Zimmer。Welcome to the show, David.
Thank you very much, Cindy. Pleasure to be here.
First of all, congratulations for being re-elected.
Thank you very much. I was on your show about 2-3 weeks ago, just before the election, and we had a good conversation with one of your colleagues, and now the election's over and I'm the MPP again.
Released.
Yes, thank you.
When the elections is over,
yes,
being reelected.
Yeah. Good campaign, hard fought.
How do you see the result?
Well, I won by almost 8,000 votes in Willowdale, so I was very happy locally. When I first ran in 2003, I won by 2,000 votes almost, and in 2007 by almost 6,000, and now almost 8,000.
More and more.
So I want to say thank you to everybody in Willowdale that supported me.
And besides your writing, how do you see like the other result? Like
yes, well, the Liberals in Ontario won 53 seats.
That's one seat short.
Yes, and the Conservatives won 37, and the NDP won 17 seats.
The Liberal Party is not a majority party anymore.
Yes, well, we're almost a majority party. We like to call it a
major minority.
A major minority.
I know that,
a major minority.
Now, how do you see those results?
Well, in a minority government, of course, it has its challenges. There'll have to be a lot more cooperation between the three political parties because nobody really has the majority to make things done. So there'll be a lot of negotiation and trade-offs and trying to bring legislation through that's in the best interest of everybody in Ontario, wherever they are, in the north, in the south, the east, west, whatever.
And what do you think is the biggest challenge for Liberals?
I think the biggest challenge for the Liberals, the biggest challenge for the opposition parties, and the biggest challenge for everybody in Ontario is our economy. If there's one thing that we all heard about during the election, is that people, whatever their political stripe, Liberal, Conservative, NDP, whatever their religious or ethnic background, they want to see Ontario have a very, very strong economy. And there are lots of places in the world, and you follow the news and so on, where the economy is in very, very difficult circumstances.
Yeah, and Central Bank, they keep the rate is 1%. And Mr. Mark Carney, he doesn't seem very optimistic about the economy.
Yes, and that's why we have to work very, very hard to rebuild the economy, because everybody in Ontario knows that if you want to have good schools and good education, good health care, good roads, good transportation, you need to have a strong economy, because it's the strong economy that produces the taxes. People pay taxes, businesses pay taxes, and so that's going to be the challenge. One of the things that we're going to do, and the Premier is going to do, and he announced, is that he's going to do everything possible to attract really good, high-quality foreign investments. The Premier always goes on a number of international trade missions, and he's already said that he's going to do several very quickly. He'll be going to different countries around the world, Korea, China, different countries in South America and Europe, drumming up business. Like with the famous Samsung deal that we drummed up.
Right, I know that.
$7 billion to Ontario, and 16,000 jobs, and all of the spin-off jobs that creates. So those are the things that we're going to work on.
And besides economy, what else?
Well, I think the other big issue in the economy is the environment. You know, people are very, very concerned about the environment, and that's a global thing around the world.
Yeah.
So that's why we're closing the coal plants that we've got. That's why we're interested in bringing on new solar technology. and that's why we're interested in doing everything we can to clean up our environment, to make it a healthy environment. But in doing that also creates jobs and employment for people.
So that's the way Liberals going to help Ontario families create
jobs? Yes, how we're going to help Ontario families, because one of the best things you can do for an Ontario family is see that the parents have good incomes, because if they've got good incomes, they can buy houses, they can buy condominiums, they can invest and buy things for their family and children. They take holidays, they buy cars, they buy lawnmowers, they buy TV sets, and that's good for the economy. That's good for you, that's good for this TV station, it's good for everybody.
And for your riding, Willowdale, what will you do?
Well, Willowdale is a very, very interesting riding in Ontario. Willowdale is about 140,000 people, and the makeup is about 15,000 or so Chinese, about 15,000 or so Koreans, about 15,000 or so Iranians. So the makeup of Willowdale is very, very multicultural. There are probably 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 Russians. And Willowdale is in many ways an example of what the country is like now in the big urban cities. And what I find is that the Chinese and the Koreans and the Iranians who have recently come to Willowdale, to Ontario, you know what they're very interested in? The parents, they're very interested in education.
Education.
Education's the key. And if they come as young students, they may be in their late teens or early 20s. They want to get a good education at the colleges or the universities. If they're parents, they want their children, if they're in elementary school or high school, have the very best education, because that's the key to a good job when you're older. And that's in Ontario's interest to provide that good education, because a good education means a good job when you grow up. And that's good for everybody.
Yeah, and when is the upcoming legislative session start?
Well, the cabinet was announced last week, and it was sworn in. I see Michael Chan was here, Minister Chan was here just a few minutes ago talking about shark fin soup and so on. The cabinet, or the government, will probably start the middle or towards the end of November, and then we'll get started doing the people's business. Right now, the new ministers are organizing their offices, and the new MPPs, all of the new MPPs that were elected, it takes them a couple of weeks to organize and get their offices up and running and hire staff and so on. But we'll be ready to go probably in about 2 weeks or so, I think.
What kind of expectation do you have for the upcoming legislative session?
Well, this is going to be a very interesting legislature. This is my third time that I've been elected. And the previous 2 occasions, we had a majority government. So we talked about this earlier. Now it's a minority, and we're about equal, one seat short. So we have to be very careful and conscientious and very thoughtful about how we govern. And we have to work very hard with the other parties, the NDP and the Conservatives, to get the best possible legislation through for the people of Ontario. So you have a good job, and my nephews and nieces have a good job.
And everyone has a good job.
Yeah, and your parents, or if they're here in Canada, or my parents, my older relatives, so that they have good health care and good homes for senior citizens and all of that. So we want to help the seniors, we want to help the middle-aged people, we want to help the younger people, the students, we want to help the young children in schools.
Definitely. We hope so that all the Ontarians, they're going to live a better life.
Yes. Yes,
okay.
That's good.
Thanks very much.
All right.
For
well,
coming.
thank you very much, Cindy, for inviting me to your show.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. 现在是下午的5点31分。我们今天也是非常高兴，请到了刚刚再次当选省议员的 David Zimmer 来到我们这个演播室，跟我们聊了一聊他对刚刚再次当选省议员，包括他认为在今后最新的一期这个省议会当中，自由党可能会面对的一些挑战，他谈了自己的看法。非常感谢今天能请到 David Zimmer。然后我们现在也是稍微休息一下，广告回来精彩继续。Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.